What's going on, everybody? It's Bipolar. Thank you all so much for checking out another video. And what I want to talk about today is I want to talk about the skill-based matchmaking. I want to talk about the algorithm and how, if it knows where it wants to put you next. So firstly, thank you to Rybor6 who asked me in the last skill-based matchmaking video that I did if I think the algorithm knows when you're throwing. Now, I have done a significant amount of research on skill-based matchmaking. For me personally, before we get into that, let's get some gameplay on the go. So, for me personally, I don't necessarily mind it. I think it could be changed. I think it could be improved. And the gameplay watching in the background, now last time I did a video like this, I put a gameplay up where it was unedited and I pretty much, took me a while to get going, but when I did, I absolutely wiped the map and dominated the lobby. And in this one I struggled. I struggled like hell. This was frustrating. This was Sniper's Paradise. And this kind of brought out when I used to play competitive. And this kind of brought out my inner just absolute, I'm gonna beat you. I am going to beat you. And yeah, so it took a while to get going, took a while to get into the swing of things. And as I've said multiple times, like, I don't show you the bad gameplays, you know, like the ones where you get absolutely bent over a barrel. I don't show them. This one's kind of got a bit of a mix of both. It has got me getting royally bent over in places and then going on a tear and just a really frustrating gameplay. So I hope you enjoy this as much as I detested getting it, but it was satisfying in the end. Now, the algorithm. Now, like we spoke about yesterday, and if you haven't seen that video, I'll link it down in the description, is that the algorithm has been following you for years. Skill-based matchmaking is nothing new in Call of Duty. And like we've established before this, if you think you're an average player, chances are you're actually better than what you think. And I was so disappointed. I lost to one of my own spots there. That is one of my spots, damn it. Anyway, the algorithm is better than what you think you are. The algorithm sees you as a potential beast, not as the casual player that you are. You know, get home from work, sort everything out with the kids, make sure the wife's happy and all the rest of it. You know, the algorithm sees you as a dedicated Call of Duty player. Like, you live and die this shit, you fucking breathe it, you eat it, you sleep it, and it wants to put you with the players that also feel the same. Now, whilst that isn't actually true, you are a casual player. If you've got a 1KD or higher, then you are considered as the elite. You know, you are considered in that top 20% bracket. And whether you like it or not, there is always going to be some kind of SR following you around, and that is it, even though it doesn't show it, even though you don't get any emblems for it, even though you don't get any rewards for it. And whilst we have no proof of the actual classes, how I've generally broken it down is kind of as a similar way to what they do in Overwatch with their SR, and that is you have your copper, you know, your low, you know, they're completely hopeless, never played a game before and thought, you know what, Call of Duty sounds fun, this sounds like a good place to start. And they are, again, they are like your bottom 10%. They are the ones that really do struggle for one reason or another. And then you go up to your bronze and your silvers and then your golds and your platinums, your diamonds, your masters, your grandmasters. And you probably think now to yourself, automatically you've just gone, boom, I'm middle of the road, man. I'm a silver, I'm gold, you know, I'm that area. You know, I'm no better than, I'm not a platinum, I'm not a diamond player, I'm not. But the game thinks you are. Like I said, if you've got a 1KD or above, you are going to be sat in the diamond tier. And that's why it always seems so, it always kind of seems very sweaty. And whilst, again, it is true that the game does feel sweaty at that point. You kind of really have to work hard for your kills. Like in this gameplay here, you know, I really had to work hard at this. I had to do my best to not necessarily carry the team, because that's not fair. But I knew how, after a little bit of getting my ass kicked, I knew how these players were going to play. You just kind of have to think on your feet and then find a way of, double mind kill, I love it, and just find a way of dragging a win out of your ass. And that, I suppose, then the algorithm sees you then doing things like this and then decides this is where it's going to rank your SR higher. Now, the SR in our little bubble that we've kind of got going on here, whether you like it or not, now I've got in this game, I couldn't tell you what my KDR is because I don't know, because we can't check, but I started off rough, really, really rough, kind of like this gameplay in general. This is kind of sums up my Call of Duty career, Modern Warfare 2 career so far. It started off really, really rough, and then I've kind of grown into it, and now the majority of the time, you know, I'll go double positive. I will usually be knocking around the top of the leaderboard, and I'm doing okay. I'm doing all right. And the lobby, I kind of think the lobby sees me as a diamond player. You know, like now I've kind of caught up. I think before I'd had a really, really low, like into the negative kill death ratio, which I'm not bothered about. I mean, KD isn't going to get me laid, so I don't care. This isn't like when I was playing competitively and then it was a real issue. But like, you know, it sees me to say argument's sake a diamond level, which is way, way, way above average. And then you have to teach the algorithm from time to time that you aren't that good. Now, the way of doing this, and this is what people call reverse boosting, and it is and it isn't at the same time. Now, generally what I do is, when you jump on to have a Call of Duty session, and you can try this for yourself, mainly try it on your own first, and you'll have a lot more success with it. If you do it in duos, or if you do it in a group, the results are going to be far more random. So, say you just want to sit and have a chilled Call of Duty session one night. Awesome. You know, I don't want to think too hard about it. I've got an assault rifle that I want to get gold. I got some challenges that I want to do. Sweet. First game that you play. The first game that you play, go in there with a pistol. Or go in there with an M16. Or go in there with something that you haven't used yet. Something that you want to unlock. Something you want to unlock some attachments for. Because this way, whilst you are not tricking the algorithm per se, because that's not fair, you're just letting it know that you're not really in the mood. You know, like your wife, when you say, do you fancy it tonight? Oh, I've got a headache. Or she lets you know, she lets signs in earlier. Oh, I had a migraine earlier today. Well, that's not going to fucking happen then, is it, Duck? No. And that, you know, kind of teach the algorithm that, because the algorithm doesn't know what you're actually thinking. The algorithm can only go off the results that it's got in front of it. Now, with the question that Ryan asked, if it was, could the algorithm know if you're throwing the game? Now, it can't, as long as you're shooting at a target. If you're shooting at a target but you are missing, and you're missing on purpose, it doesn't know if you're missing on purpose or if your aim just sucks that night. And that's where you kind of have to trick it. If you just run around shooting in the air, killing yourself, and also don't leave the game. Because if you leave the game, and yes, you're probably thinking, well, if I leave the game, it counts as a loss. It does, correct. But the algorithm doesn't see as you've really done anything, so you can't like jump in, leave a game, jump in, leave a game, jump in, leave a game, boom, bots, yay! Now, the best way of going about it is just taking a gun that you're not comfortable with and go get your ass kicked a little bit. Go and try and play. You know, go try and play with it and see how you get on. You might like it, who knows? And then, again, in the next game, and if you go a double negative, and you kind of think, well, it doesn't matter, you know, I've done what I can with this gun. I'm going to try something a little bit I'm more comfortable with. This is where the danger zone kicks in now, because you want to go on a 3-5 system. Now, basically, this is going to set your tone for the rest of the evening. The first 3 really set your tone, and then the other 2 after that, it's silly, but it's quite understandable once you get your head around it. Now, the first 3 set the tone for the evening. If you do the first 3 with 3 random guns that you've never used before, or guns that you're really uncomfortable with, like me personally, I am a SMG and assault rifle guy, and whilst I'm just trying to get this marksman rifle gold, I think I had one more challenge to do. And I'm comfortable with this, and I kind of did this as a bit of a counter sniper poker more than anything else. But just say for example, this was the first time using a marksman rifle, and I just kind of wanted to get a feel for it. It doesn't matter if I get battered, it's fine, these are my warm-up games. And that's the perfect way to go about it. Look at your first 3 as warm-up games, because the algorithm doesn't immediately want to fuck you like everybody seems to think that it does. It wants everybody to have a good time. Now, don't get me wrong, when you try and please everybody, you end up pleasing nobody, but still, nonetheless, this is the algorithm's way of thinking. The perfect game for this matchmaking is the game finishes 75 to 74. Everybody in the lobby goes, say, I don't know, say 12 for 12, and one guy gets 13 kills instead. So everyone has a nice, evenly good time, and which in the reality just doesn't make sense, but nonetheless, that's what it wants. And when you understand that that's what it wants and what you've got to feed it to get what you want out of it, then it all starts to make a little bit more sense. Are you willing to sacrifice your kill-death ratio? And I'm being deadly serious. If the answer is yes, you're going to be in a good spot, but I think you're doing it for all the wrong reasons. Because You don't start these games early in a bit of a bad form just so you can go and shit on kids. That's not the point in this whatsoever. You want to have your first 3 games using a gun that you wouldn't usually use, so then when it comes to the next 2, then you can start enjoying, then you can just start chilling out a little bit. People aren't going to be as good, they're not going to be bots, but what it's going to do, whatever SR that it thinks you win, and this is where we're going to go back to your ranking now, it is going to start slowly lowering you down in that bracket. And it's going to say, alright, so you're top gold or low diamond or whatever it is. It's going to say, alright, when you're looking for your next game, alright, he's had a bit of a nightmare in the diamond, so we're going to put him in the lowest set of diamond players, then we're going to see how he gets on against them. And again, if you're using a gun that you don't usually use, and you're kind of thinking, alright, I'm doing okay, I'm going, like, 10 for 15 or whatever, then the game's going to think, alright, he's close to switching off in a minute, we're going to bring him down one more, and then it's going to start lowering your SR accordingly. But then, if you get to the point then, in your 4th game, where you're thinking, right, you know what, I'm going to shit on these kids now, then it's just not automatically going to put you in the bot lobbies, it's just going to bring you down slowly. So if you have a couple of nightmare games, that was the cleanest skill I'm ever going to get, if you have a couple of nightmare games, then it is going to slowly start bringing your SR down. But it's not stupid. It's been following your projectile in Call of Duty career for a long time. Call of Duty tracks every stat, every bullet that you fired, every kill that you've gotten, every death that you've taken, every dump that you've taken in between games. It knows. Even way back from when we had skill-based matchmaking in Black Ops 2, it knows, it follows you around, so it's not stupid, and it doesn't want to punish you as being a very good player. It wants you to have an enjoyable experience, but it also wants the other 11 people in the lobby to have an enjoyable experience as well. And when you actually understand what it's trying to do, then it all starts to make sense. So don't go into a lobby and just throw 3 games in a row and then go stomp on kids, because then the algorithm's going to go, alright, cool, he's woken up now, he's ready to go again. And then it's not going to gradually lift you back up, it's probably just going to say, alright, let's test him against these, because you don't know where you are. And the problem is now, is with this SR system, you actually don't know where you fall in your ranking, and that is where you can get caught out. Now, if you say you started in top diamond and you're not even aware of it, and you've played 3-4 games and you've had a bit of a bad time of it, it's gonna lower you down to think, oh, maybe he is struggling, maybe he's not as good as what he was, etc., etc. Whatever. But then if you all of a sudden go on an absolute tear, and then it's all going to immediately go, oh, right, cool, he's woken back up, he's ready to go again, he's ready to go, let's try putting him against people where we think that he should be, she should be, whatever. And once you understand that if you want to get yourself in a situation where lobbies are more casual, you just have to play more casually yourself. And the only way to play more casually is stop getting pissed off about it, stop rage quitting, stop bitching about, well, obviously we can bitch about snipers, we'll bitch about snipers, and stop using the meta weapons. Use something different, use something that's a bit of fun, and gradually that SR will slowly start to come down. It's only then when you go into a full meta weapon and go on multiple absolute tears, then it's going to start lifting you back up again. And it's like everything else in life, you just got to keep it balanced. If you keep it balanced, and if you just think about where your meta lies, where your SR lies, and then you don't want to go you don't really want to mess with it too much. You want to bring it down a little bit so you can have a bit more of a casual, enjoyable experience. So don't spend loads of time like slowly bringing it back down. And again, you're not wrecking your stats. You're not just throwing games. You're not just saying, I'm done with it, I'm going to blow myself up. You're still playing the game, just in a different way. You're just starting using, like say, ranking up different guns, trying a few different things. And if anything, that makes the game more enjoyable, and you're lowering your SR without even thinking about it at this point, therefore making the game more enjoyable, instead of just going around with your MP7 or your M4 or whatever gun that you may want to use time and time again, and then wondering why you're playing against sweaties all the time. It's because you're approaching the game in that so-called sweaty manner, and therefore that's why skill-based matchmaking feels like it's punishing you, when it's actually not. It sees you using the meta weapons, it sees you using the meta attachments, and thinks, alright, this guy's on it. He's up for it tonight. He wants to go. He wants a sesh. He wants to go big. And when the reality of it is, we just want to chill out and play some Call of Duty. And then when you start thinking like the algorithm, it all starts to make a lot more sense. And I hope my mindless jibber jabber for nearly 15 minutes now has made any sense whatsoever, and I hope this genuinely helps you out. So again, Ryball6, thank you so much for the comment. I really do appreciate it, and I genuinely hope that has answered your question.